Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for waiting. If you guys on YouTube, um, welcome to our little webinar session, which I also like to call kind of shooting myself in the foot as a YouTuber. But no. Very much a useful sharing of a few insights if you've ever considered using YouTube for your company, for your startup, for marketing, either starting a channel or advertising to influencers on YouTube. So hopefully, oh God, this lag sometimes. Sorry, just a sec. Uh, Share screen. Yeah, sorry about that. This overlay thing is really cool, but sometimes like it lags terribly, as you can see. So I think we're not going to use it today. Okay. Anyway, all right. So let's just go with good old screen share. All right. So don't try this at home. Don't try YouTube at home. That's kind of like the clickbait topic of today. Um, just some context on who I am and why I do these sessions. My name is Kaya. I'm one of the founders of a company called Slidebean. A lot of people tend to think that Slidebean is some sort of nickname that I have. It's not. I'm just one of the founders and the CEO at this company. And again, this kind of like the other clickbait title of this session is, well, YouTube kind of kills startups, as if you attempt to use YouTube as a marketing channel. So what can we do to get around it? How do we use YouTube as marketing for startups? And hopefully some of these tips and some of our pitfalls and learned lessons can be useful to you. Okay, so I guess just a little bit of context on what we do and why we do these videos. Really, the reason why we do these videos is like we're not our YouTube channel. That's not what pays the bills and keeps the lights on. Our main gig, our main product or a company is a software platform for startups. That's what we've been doing for, it's gonna be 12 years now, soon 12 years. Um, and then yeah, it's like a startup toolkit, sort of like a toolkit for founders that are trying to raise money. Like that's what we do. I'm not trying to sell it to you now. So just to clarify, hey, like why do we use a YouTube channel? Like how much of YouTube is makes up of our revenue, right? So here's a little pie chart to tell you about it. So this is more or less our revenue distribution for 2024. We have that big chunk, which is what we call pure SaaS revenue. So that's revenue from our subscription software. So SaaS software. We have a little bit of agency revenue. So that's revenue that comes from our services. We do a little bit of services too, kind of like pitch writing, stuff like that, and more financial modeling lately, and then media, right? So that small slice is the revenue that we make from YouTube. That's a combination of YouTube ads and a combination of YouTube sponsorships, i.e. brand deals, those that you see that interrupt the video and the story sometimes. Sorry. But as you can see, it's a small slice of the revenue that we make. The bigger, sorry, and that's kind of like the YouTube revenue from our channel, which I'll show on Blur later in the video. It's just retention mechanism. Sorry. But yeah, like I said, like this platform, Slidebean, is our main product. This is what we've been doing for a while. It's a software platform for startups. But there's another way we can look at that pie chart, which is if we analyze what we call media touched revenue. And if we look at the revenue that our company makes that is touched in some way by you guys on YouTube, or I get some people are on Zoom too, so hi to the Zoom crowd. Revenue that is touched by our YouTube channel, it's almost half. And it's honestly really hard to track because YouTube is like social media, right? So like people might watch a video, and I get this sometimes. Hey, like I've been watching your videos for 2 years, and then I finally used your product. So that's a lead that took us 2 years of YouTube content to convert, right? So it's really hard to attribute that conversion to YouTube, but the best we can do is this, right? And it's almost half of our revenue. So something must work. And that's kind of like the message that I'm trying to transfer to you. By the way, I've gotten much better at multitasking since I started doing these live sessions. I used to suck. So I'm reading the YouTube chat. I have it here, and I'm reading the chat here from you guys on Zoom. So if you have any questions along the way, let me know, and I'm happy to answer them. We'll have a good slot for questions at the end too. So don't worry. Okay. So this kind of world, right, where we have a YouTube channel, we use it for marketing, but we also accept brand deals, puts me in this really, really weird position where I have to sometimes pay other YouTube channels or pay YouTube ads to promote our product, but also I get paid to promote other products through our channel. So I get, I kind of sit a little bit in the middle of these two, and I have some insights for you from doing that for a while. Okay, so some context. My role inside the company, I mean, more beyond CEO, is kind of like CMO, where I've been in charge of most of our marketing stuff, or leading at least most of the marketing stuff for most of our story. And I firmly believe that there are two, like, you want to classify marketing into two big sections, two big areas, two big subsections. One of them is what I like to call brand awareness. That's your marketing that's harder to trace, right? So brand awareness is social media. I think TikTok, for the most part, is brand awareness. YouTube could probably fit inside of brand awareness, right? And the other big category is what I like to call direct response campaigns, which are any ads that you can very scientifically track, right? Every dollar spent here in this campaign translated into this many dollars of revenue, these many dollars of conversions. So that that this difference between the two, I think, is super crucial to understand what we're gonna talk about next. So, if you were to decide, between brand awareness and direct response, like what should be your focus, right? So a lot of companies, Coca-Cola, let's think Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola doesn't do direct response campaigns, right? All they do is just brand awareness. You see a Coke ad, and then because of this brand awareness top of mind thing, you might want a Coke or might just become addicted to it. Whereas startups, especially early stage companies, like, they need, you can't get away with, maybe they'll buy if they remember us, especially B2B, right? You have to be very diligent, very specific about capturing those leads, about, dollars spent here translated to this many signups, and those many signups translated into these many dollars of revenue, right? You have to be very diligent. So if I had to decide or recommend where to share those two, where to split that budget, but for an early stage company, it's not just about budget, it's about time, right? Or like brain power. How much of your brain power in an early stage company should go to one or the other? I would say it's somewhere like here. I want to say that's like 80/20. It's like 80% of your time should be going to direct response, and a little bit of time maybe could go to brand awareness. And the way people think about brand awareness is kind of like this, right? Because if you get brand awareness right, you get free growth. That's a half truth. We get a lot of growth from YouTube, and that doesn't cost us anything in terms of advertising. It did cost us a lot of money to build the channel, and it costs us a lot of money to produce videos, and it costs us a lot of money and time to figure it out, right? So it's never free, but it's this illusion of free, and at least not paid. You don't have to pay Google every time you wanna publish a video. Hey, I see you guys. Hello, Fuzik. Ask on your question, do you have a special dedicated team to the YouTube channel? Yeah, we run two chat. We At Slidebean, we run two channels. This channel is Slidebean. There's another one called the Startup Club. I'll talk about that in a sec. I also make the occasional video for this company called The Hustle. So that's three. I don't run that channel. They just have me as a guest sometimes. So two channels. The entire team is four or five people, like 4.5 people dedicated to YouTube inside the company. Okay, so that's not how brand awareness works. So we've talked about direct response, and why is direct response better? Why am I a big believer? Because if you can figure out a direct response campaign, let's say that your first campaign is paid search, right? In our case, that's what it was. Paid search for the keyword pitch deck is what first put us on the map. If you look Slidebean, we've sort of tied ourselves to pitch decks, right? It's probably the biggest source of leads these days. And then the idea is that, well, once you figure out one direct response campaign, you can rinse and repeat that effort, and find another one. But the base campaign, should still work, right? Because you're basically paying Google for clicks, but if you find that those clicks convert customers profitably, right, with profitable unit economics, you can just put that on autopilot and start running a different campaign, right? And that's kind of what this works, right? So like at least for us, our journey was kind of like that, right? We after we figured out paid search, we started doing display ads. Those are ads on Meta or Instagram. Then once we figured that out, we could put that on autopilot and then move to Bing ads, and those kind of worked. And then we started doing advertising on newsletters, right? So if you do that again and again, you kind of get to growth because you're kind of building a base and then another base and then another base and another base. That's to me the way a startup should figure out their growth and their marketing, because you have very direct control over these campaigns. And if you can figure out the economics of these campaigns and the tracking and the budgeting and the scaling and the copy, like it'll teach you a lot of things. For example, like by running these campaigns and figuring out which landing pages work, which audiences, right, which type of customer works best or converts better, which wording in your on your website, which headlines work better. You're kind of getting answers right away. And the fact that you have to pay for each click, and it kind of forces you, at least at the very beginning, to kind of see the journey of this click and see like, okay, like this click that cost me $5 to get to the website, what do they do, right? Like, okay, they hung out on this page for a minute and a half, and then they moved to this page, and they moved to this page. So like that diligence like makes you, focus on those journeys, which in the end kind of helps you optimize to run new channels, right? The difference with brand awareness is that it's this much, much slower growth, right? That doesn't happen, like those breakthroughs don't happen right away, take longer. They tend to be more expensive just because they take longer. So, in our case, our first big breakthrough on like organic growth, not necessarily brand awareness, but organic growth was SEO. But this is a more or less accurate timeline. Like we only figured out SEO kind of around here, right? So after we had two solid direct response campaigns, that's when we started focusing on SEO. And also like on this 20-80 focus, where 80% of our time is on these campaigns that pay the bills, that get us customers every month. But hey, maybe we have a little bit of a bigger team now, so maybe we can carve out two half times, right? Two half shifts of our existing team. Maybe let's start producing some content. Let's see what SEO does for us, right? So like that's how we started doing that. Community was the next one, kind of like doing events, community events. Again, like it's very hard to track, an event or a meetup that we organize and how much it translates to revenue or to conversions. It's really hard to do. But we were willing to do it because it wasn't our main gig, right? It's a 20% thing. And then YouTube very much started as a 20% thing. Again, now it's no longer a 20% thing. Again, the little pie chart I showed you, like we could say that YouTube generates maybe almost half of our revenue now, but it started as a 20% brand awareness effort. And that's the big difference. If there's a message that I want you guys to take from today, from my lessons and mistakes, is brand takes too long. I've seen so many companies that try to focus on this brand on YouTube, on social media awareness early, right? Too early, and maybe they're kind of like throwing this really wide net of content. Like TikTok is probably a good example because the barrier of entry to TikTok is very low. So you can produce. I mean, it takes nothing to produce TikTok content, but is it really getting to the right people? Is it driving conversions? Or, is it more importantly, is it a repeatable process, right? Because an early stage startup needs to find a repeatable way to grow, right? And that usually for me comes from direct response, at least at the early stage. So some tips, if you're an early stage startup, some growth basics. Again, don't spend more than 20% of your time on brand awareness. It takes too long. Focus first on finding solid direct response campaigns that work for you. Next up, like don't pay influencers before you have at least 100 customers. Why? Because when you do influencer marketing, when you do like sponsorship on a YouTube video, who's going to watch that sponsorship? Everybody who our channel follows. People like you, if you watch it, right? And not our channel, any channel that you decide to pay a brand deal, or any influencer. But what percentage of the people that watch that content are your customers, right? Is it 50%, 20%? In my experience, it tends to be a small amount, like 10 or 20% are your customers, but you're still paying for the other 80% to watch this ad. So that's kind of the problem. I think that what people, the common misconception, right? That sometimes companies go out and spend all this money in influencer marketing without really understanding who their customer is, what the perfect message is, what the ideal landing page is, and those aren't the cheapest clicks. I think the cheapest, quickest, most efficient, less risky clicks come from paid Google search, probably Meta or Instagram right after that. But any video clicks are are much more expensive. You have to produce a video. There are more variables, more things that can go wrong. Maybe people didn't like the narrator's voice or the music that you put in there or like the first two shots, right? But you still had to produce the whole video. So like ads are expensive by most standards. So I don't think they're the first way to start. And especially with influencers, right? Because you have other variables. Like what if the video doesn't perform, right? We're going to talk about that in a sec. Okay. Next up, direct response, I think makes or breaks a business. Like I said, you want to own that channel. You want to own that growth channel before you get distracted with brand awareness or with anything else. Another one, like this gets increasingly hard. Like I recycled some slides on this deck from this is a presentation I did at a conference like 2 years ago. I redid it but I recycled some slides and like this continues to be true. This is number 4. UTM tags are not enough. Like it's really attribution is getting harder and harder every day. Because tracking is now limited. How did one customer find you, right? The reality is that in web there are multiple touch points that your customer might go through, right? So they may click an ad at some point, but maybe they knew your brand from before. Right. So do you attribute the click or the conversion to the ad or to the first exposure of the brand? That gets a lot harder. And I found that the most efficient, fail-safe way to know what's actually driving your customers is just to ask them. We have a little survey after people check out on our website, we ask them like after they've paid, right? Don't put this barrier of conversion before the conversion event. But after the event, we ask them, hey, like, how did you find this? And most people answer. And that's how we find out that a lot of them watch the YouTube channel. But we wouldn't otherwise, because these clicks, most of those users, they just Googled Slidebean or they searched for pitch deck and they found us and they're like, okay, and they converted. So if we looked at the traditional UTM attribution, that would be an SEO conversion or maybe an ad conversion, content conversion, but not a YouTube conversion. It's very few people, you'd be surprised. Very few people will watch a piece of content or an ad on YouTube and will click that thing to go to the thing. Unless there's like a promo code or some sort of motivation that you want to use that link. But for the most part, if I see an ad about X, this is an interesting product. Maybe I'm watching YouTube on the TV. I'll pull up my phone and look for the product. And YouTube, and there's no way for that company to know that it's YouTube that drove that conversion. So ask customers how they discover you. And the last point here is really know your audience, right? So you want to start want to start with a niche audience. I was talking to this company the other day. We work with some companies on their financial models, and their financial modeling was not performing very well or wasn't showing great forecasts because their customers were too expensive, right? The cost per click and the acquisition cost was too expensive. So we're kind of brainstorming a bit on on what we could do. So I took a look at their ad campaigns, and the team that had set up the ads were running this campaign to like people from 25 to 65, any major city in the US. Basically everybody was a potential customer of this audience. So that's a really, I mean, that's like an extreme example, but being very specific about your audience is crucial. I'll give you our own example with pitch deck, right? So like what does our product do? It's a presentation platform. It does a bunch of things. Like you could use it for, I mean, not anymore, but when we started, you could use it for school. You could use it for your work. If you're a consultant, you could use our platform, at least the original version. So at that point, like we would advertise to all these keywords, right? PowerPoint alternatives, presentation tools, web presentation software, all of these keywords would be in our channel. And who is searching for those words on Google? Like anybody who needs to make a presentation. That's too wide of an audience, right? Once we found this niche keyword of pitch deck, right? It's a subsection within the subsection of presentations. It's like, oh, who searches for pitch deck on a web? Well, it's somebody who's running a company, somebody who's raising money, somebody who needs to make a presentation. And then we started kind of creating this profile of a person. So when we were kind of deciding if we were going to do a YouTube channel, it's like, well, what should we talk about? Should we talk about anything? Should we talk about presentation design? Who would watch that? Well, anybody. right? Well, what if we were more niche about that content? What if we talk about specific startup shit? Because who would watch the startup shit? The same people who are Googling pitch deck, which we already discovered that were good customers for us. How do you discover that? Through the direct response. So that's kind of like the train of thought. So just a bit of our audience, just honestly out of a curiosity more than anything. That's kind of who watches our YouTube content. Maybe useful. But anyway, so why, like, I've just completely unsold using YouTube at all, right? So why is it even good for? Why is YouTube content, or why is putting your brand on YouTube either through your own channel or through sponsoring someone else's channel? Is it good at all? Well, I mean, yeah. So let's take a step back now. Like, I think it's good, but I think the distribution or the work that putting stuff on YouTube does is kind of like here, where it's much more brand awareness that direct response, right? So there's the value that you extract out of that deal, out of that brand deal, out of that, brand exposure on YouTube is mostly brand awareness. You can convert a little bit of, you can track a little bit, you can turn that into a direct response campaign. Yes. But the main reason why you do it, you have to think of it as a brand awareness thing, which kind of connects to early stage companies where it shouldn't be more than 20% of your marketing focus / budget, right? Because it should come out of that brand awareness part of the budget, not out of your main marketing assumption. So a little bit of a case for YouTube marketing. Why is it? I mean, it's useful for anything, right? We're talking about that. The first thing is that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So people go to YouTube to search for stuff, and if you can figure out search on YouTube, even though you don't make viral videos, even though you don't make videos that are get to 1 million views, if you can target search and you can answer the questions that people have, that makes a difference. Trust is another one. I think that the most extreme case of that is, I've met people on the street that kind of stop me and say, hey, like, I fall asleep to your voice most nights, and it's like, okay, that's a little very intimate. But the thing is, like, when you see people when you see people on the screen, there's a mode to YouTube. Like, YouTube is kind of it's becoming more and more what television, or at least traditional television used to be. It's incredible. Like, I didn't expect this to happen. I always say that when I got into college, I started digital animation. YouTube did not exist. It didn't exist at all, right? So, like, it wasn't even a career path that you could pick, and now it's like on par, I think, with a lot of television. In terms of that brand trust, right? So if you have a large YouTube channel, there's some credibility, right, that you have just because of that. I think TikTok is another factor. Like, TikTok, on the contrary, has such a low barrier of entry that it's great for experimentation, but compared to YouTube, hey, Greg, but compared to YouTube, YouTube kind of gives you this moat around the content that makes it much more valuable. You can target, you can target very actively on TikTok. I'm sorry, on TikTok, on YouTube, if you understand the audience well. And then probably the most important case for YouTube marketing is that I think it's one of the most protected growth channels today against AI, because you have all these AI driven channels that's just narration and B-roll, but I think that we're gonna have so many of those in the next 2-3 years that people are gonna grow tired of those, and then the people who put their face on YouTube are gonna have this extra moat around them, right? Especially if you have that time built, right? If you can start a you see new YouTube channels all the time, and they grow fast, right? It's never too late to get into YouTube, but I think that the fact that AI can't yet replicate the work that YouTube that a YouTube vlog does, or that a YouTube documentary does, like, I don't think AI can do it, and it's far away from doing it. Combination of everything, right? The research, the scripting, the visuals, the explainers, the personality of the host, like, all of that is I think we're far still from it being replicated. So, okay. So next question is, well, okay, so how much should you pay for this stuff? How much should you pay for this mostly brand awareness, a little bit of direct response? I see your questions, guys, on YouTube. Oliver Fusek, I'll get to that. I'm almost done with my slides. Okay, so 2 ways you can pay for a YouTube sponsorship, if that's something that I'm not trying to sell our channel. We're actually mostly sold out for the year, but no, like, if you want to advertise through any company, through any other channel, like how do you negotiate this with the influencers? How does it work? Right? Two main ways you can do that. One is with a flat CPM, and the other one is with an affiliate. By the way, if somebody's starting or considering starting a YouTube channel of their own, this is also useful. Okay, so how do you make money on YouTube, right? So how do we monetize these brand deals? Again, flat CPM, that's cost per mil impressions, cost per thousand impressions, or with affiliate deals. So a flat CPM model is, I'll start with that. It's quite simple. So basically, normally what you do is you take the average views of the last 12 videos, you divide that by 1,000, and that gives you, and you multiply that by your CPM. So basically, if your average video gets 500,000 views, right? You multiply that by your CPM, and then your average deal for this type of video would be somewhere in the 15K, right? So if the expectation is that a video that you'll publish will get about 500,000 views, a brand will pay maybe $15,000 for a brand deal in that video. That's just a standard YouTube rate. So 30, I'd say, is pretty standard. If your channel is, maybe targeted towards a lot of young people who don't have a lot of purchasing power, or maybe like very viral, stunty channel where the audience isn't as refined or ready to buy, then you could go to the extreme of 15 CPM. Like I've seen some brands push for that. We don't take those deals, but earlier channels might have to. We, because our audience is a little bit specialized, startups, tech people generally have a higher purchasing power. We actually tend to push that up when we can, to a little bit of a higher CPM. But why is this flat CPM model? What's it good for, right? Is it useful? For the brand, the challenge here is that, well, there's no guarantee on conversions, right? You're basically paying for the views and then crossing your fingers that people in that audience, in that channel, will click and go and buy, right? The other challenge is that past results don't guarantee future success, right? So you might have a channel that usually makes videos that get 500,000 views, but then this one specific video that you paid for them gets 10,000, but you still paid the other rate. So that's a risk that the brand tends to take. And then the creator isn't necessarily motivated to the success of the campaign. Like I like to think that we were motivated to making sure that our videos, like our brand deals, do well, but the creator already got paid, right? So there's no, there's nothing to do about that. Well, how about the creator? Well, for the creator, overall, a flat CPM deal is a good deal. The only challenge, the caveat there, is that there's really no upside if the video blows up, right? So we did this one with, I think it was NordVPN, 2-3 weeks back, and the video got like 1 million views, and they paid based on our average views per video, which is like 150K views. So I mean, great for them, happy sponsor, but we didn't make any extra money because of that. It's just the name of the game, right? There's another factor is like, well, you get paid anyway, right? So you get lucky if the video doesn't perform well, you still get paid. I mean, which is of course a double-edged sword, right? If a video doesn't perform well for a sponsor, they're not going to sponsor with you again, right? So you normally want to keep them happy. What we try to do is if the video really, really underperforms, we'll just give them another one. Some brands will demand to put that on a contract, and I don't think it's a crazy idea to do it. So if you negotiate, with a creator and you assume a certain guaranteed number of views, or like in a certain span of time, and if that doesn't happen, they can give you another publication. I think that I honestly think that's fair, sitting in the middle where I sit. Okay, so the other way to do it is affiliate, right? That's the other option, where a company might assume and say, hey, like we'll pay you $10 for each sign up that you bring us, or we'll give you 30% of our rev share, right? Up to a certain amount. So for the brand, an affiliate deal is, man, it's a fucking good deal, man. There's so much upside for the brand. You only pay what you get, the customers you get. There's no risk, and there's free brand awareness, because even if people don't buy from the link, and we know that most people don't, right? So if people don't use the link to buy, you'll still get the signups, you'll still get the awareness, and you didn't have to pay anything for it. So affiliate is so good for a brand. So like, again, sitting in the middle where I sit, if you can go to a creator and negotiate affiliate-based advertising, like do it. Like it's the best deal for you as a founder. It's just a really, really shitty deal for the creator, right? So we don't do these deals. And again, the advantage is these are the perks of me doing both. For the creator, this is the shittiest possible deal because you don't have for the creator doesn't have control over the conversion funnel. So you might do the best possible call out in the world, the best possible call to action, but then people go to their website, and if they have a shitty website, nobody's going to convert, and it's not your fault, but you still didn't make it. I mean, you still lost money because nobody converted. You become a free evangelist. There's no visibility on they don't give you visibility on conversions. There are some platforms, Partner Stack, that do that, but overall, it's a lot of conversions just happen outside of the funnel, right outside of the clicks. So like, there's no way to know, and I think that's a really shitty deal. Yeah, and just enforcing those payouts is work that you don't want to be doing. So I hate it. I don't do affiliate deals, but I mean, I don't take affiliate deals as a creator, but yeah, if you can negotiate affiliate with a brand, I mean with a YouTube channel, by all means do it. It's the best possible deal for you. Okay, so again, as a brand, affiliate and flat CPM works. Affiliate if you can, right? Flat CPM is what we have to settle for. As a creator, don't ever do affiliate. It's just really, really shitty. You end up with flat CPM. Okay, so again, and kind of like last thought on YouTube, it's like, well, with this balance, right, where we establish that YouTube is mostly a direct response thing, secondarily a brand awareness thing, you want to aim for conversions and settle for the brand awareness. That's what you kind of use YouTube for. Now, to the last point, I think somebody asked earlier, should you start a YouTube channel? Some stats on how much our YouTube channel costs to run and plus revenue, right? So we have our media team is made up of one producer, one DP, two editors/animators. Like that role is now very mixed. One animator freelance that we hire for certain more complex projects, and about a third of my time is dedicated to YouTube videos and such. Now, all in, this team costs around $250,000 a year. That includes office and gear and all the stuff that we need. I mean, the team is based in Costa Rica, so it makes it a lot cheaper than it would be if we were based in the States. We're able to produce 3 to 4 videos monthly with our quality standard, with our standard. You know, I don't think that a channel needs to put out more videos than this. 3 to 4 videos, I think, is which actually gets split between our two channels, right? The Startup Club and Slidebean. So Slidebean ends up getting 2 or 3 videos a month. Startup Club gets 1 or 2 videos a month. And that's, I think, a good frequency. Yeah. But if you divide that basically over the year, that means that each video costs around $6,000 to make. Which again, we make up with a combination of brand deals, a little bit of YouTube ads, which aren't much, and the conversions and the intangible brand awareness value that we bring to the company. And if you want to look at some revenue numbers, that's what YouTube pays, which is not a lot. That's why I didn't mind sharing this stuff, because 3.7 million views on the channel over 90 days pays $15,000. So that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos and 1 live. So that's what 6 times 6, $36,000 spent in video production to make 15,000 from YouTube ads. Again, it's not enough. That's why creators have to resort to other means, Patreons, or in our case, we have a company to kind of fund the video production. Okay, so that's all I have. I have the remaining almost 30 minutes for questions if you guys have any. Just first, a little ad that I think that's what we do YouTube, right? Like, remember, we're not just a YouTube channel. We're a fundraising platform for startups and for founders. We help founders navigate the whole process of fundraising. We have an AI pitch deck builder, an investor finder, a cap table tool, financial modeling tools, and some of our subscriptions even include monthly one-on-ones with my team, including myself. I try to do a kickoff call and a strategy call with everyone that joins our plans. So that's that. No more slides. I will stop my share and I'll get to your questions, guys. So let me pull this up here. It looks closer to you. All right. I'll start from the bottom up. So Timothy, love the vids. How do you get most of our sponsors to do outreach a lot? That's a good question. No, we don't do outreach. Most of them land on our lap. I think that kind of YouTube advertises itself, if you will, or the content advertises itself, I'd say. So no, we haven't gotten to outreach. And because we don't have a lot of that many placements, right? 2 or 3 videos a month, then we tend to be sold out 2 or 3 months in advance. At least at this stage, right? At this level of views and amount of content that we produce. Okay, Oliver, I have a presentation with a few investors coming soon. What can you recommend or advise? Okay, that's actually a good question that reminded me. Um, we have a so we have this other channel. It's called the Startup Club. I'll ask my team to paste the link in the chat so you guys can find it, subscribe if you want. So the Startup Club is a much more startup-y channel. Like we focus more exclusively on like startup content and deep dives. And we have another session coming in on that channel on Thursday, which talks a little bit about kind of building your budget story for raising capital. So we'll touch a little bit on presentations and advice on that in that webinar. It's also a live session around the same time. I think it's 12:30 Eastern. Yeah, so hope to see you guys or some of you guys there. Yeah, Oliver, to your point, yeah, like general advice on presentations is probably there. We have a good video on pitch decks and how to write a pitch deck in our Startup Club channel. So maybe start there, and I can answer specific questions. Okay, Fusik, what about fundraising guidance? Okay, yeah, like maybe that answered already. I think that's all the questions. Oh, I see you, Eric. Okay, what key advice would you offer to a Kenyan startup founder seeking offshore funding opportunities? Yeah, I have some advice. I have some notes on this, which start with it's really hard to raise money in a geo or in a region where you are not based at, right? Like, Middle East. No, there's capital in the Middle East. I'd say, a lot of African startups I talk to, Latin American startups, I are looking like have this idea, oh, I'm gonna go to the States and raise money, right? But that, why would that make sense for an investor to fund this company that's overseas, that's targeting a market that they don't understand, an audience that they don't understand, a founder they can't see regularly that doesn't understand the dynamics of the US market. So if you are looking to raise money in the US or in Europe, then you need to be a European company. And it's not just a legal entity that's established in that country. It's a company that actually targets that market, right? That is either strongly based there or targeting customers there. One of the two, if not both. If you're based in Kenya and you're mostly targeting Kenyan B2B or B2C or Africa in general, then why would an investor that's outside of that ecosystem give you money? So that's a common misconception. I get it a lot, but yeah. Thanks for subscribing, Oliver. I see you, Diego. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for tuning in. Cool. Any other questions, guys? I'll give it. I know that there's a little lag delay on YouTube, so I'm intentionally speaking a little slow, so yeah, to give you guys some time to catch up, see if you have any other follow-ups or questions. Otherwise, we'll just call it a day. I'll give you 20 minutes back. Yeah, thanks for again. Oh, there you go, Timothy. By the way, the next session on Thursday is also going to be live on YouTube and on our Zoom webinar. So in that Thursday section, I normally take the time to actually build the financial model for one of the companies in the audience. We normally have time to do one or two. So if that's interesting, you should definitely sign up for the Zoom link because otherwise the YouTube thing won't be, you can't talk through YouTube. Okay, I see more questions. Timothy, thanks for answering. Since I'm in the entertainment reaction niche, volume can be key for video. So 50% of revenue is AdSense and 50 Patreon. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we don't do Patreon. I think it'd be it'd be a little too much, right? To monetize our audience on Patreon. Because we have a company. But if that weren't the case, I would definitely have one. Matteo, any tips for a full service startup social media agency? I mean, just understand that services aren't venture backable, right? So like you're a startup, you're starting a company. Yes, congrats, yes, but it's not a venture backable business. So a lot of what I say on a lot of what I say around you know sorry, that's my same thought with the other question. My bad. So a lot of what I say on fundraising and so on doesn't really apply to your company. Just that's my only disclaimer. To you, I see a question here on Zoom. How long did it take to learn all of this stuff? Oh man. No, not previous knowledge. I don't usually do this question. I mean, this little story on live streams, but When I started my first company, I don't tell anybody. When I started my first company, I we did a Kickstarter campaign. So that's how we funded our. We need to buy like some laptops and some stuff to build it. It was like a software gaming thing. And then I get this phone call one day from this guy. He's like, "Hey, my name is Josh Constein. I like ran into your Kickstarter project. Thought it was really cool. I wrote an article. I just wanted to kind of check in a few things, before publishing. But yeah." And he told me what website he worked for. He told me early in the call. I just didn't catch it because I had never heard of it. Right. So after, we did a little interview, like 5-10 minutes. He's like, "Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks, whatever." It's like, "Okay, like, can you tell me again what your website is, what your blog is, so I can find this article that you're publishing?" He's like, "Oh, it's called TechCrunch." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Can you spell that for me?" Because I had never heard about TechCrunch in my life. So that's all to say I didn't know anything about startups when I started my first company. You can learn a lot along the way. Accelerators are, I think, a good crash course, like an intensive crash course to help. And now been running my own companies for 15 years, so I've learned a thing or two. I guess that's why I make videos. Okay, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes, and you know what TechCrunch is if they call. Da, da, da. Okay, trying to get sponsors, but really hard to get them when they don't understand the volume of posts. About 1.3 million views or so monthly. So just wondering anything I should do or change in my channel. Timothy, I think a good point is like the monthly views on the channel are not necessarily relevant to the investors. I mean, sorry, to the investors, to the advertisers. It's much more about the views per video, right? So and every math that I did here on CPM is not on the views per channel for the whole channel, but on each specific video, right? That's what you want to base your CPM on. Disclaimer. Um, Sky, do you think it's needed to be in the same country of your startup? I'm in Nigeria and my co-founder is based in the US. I keep wondering when we close our round, would I have to move? I mean, I think post-COVID, it's much more acceptable to have teams in two different places. I think that if there's a strategic reason to have a team outside of the place where your countries are, where your customers are, if there's a strategic reason for that, I think it makes sense. I'll give you our example. Most of our customers are in the States. We're a US company. We raise money from US investors. We have a US office. But most of our team is in Costa Rica. Why? Because we could hire that talent in Costa Rica. But we've always tried to have marketing, sales, and some of those key roles based in the US because there's no strategic reason to have those roles based elsewhere, right? So if you can find, in your case, maybe you're hosting the dev team in Nigeria, which that would make sense. Dev teams in the States are very expensive. But the multi-country thing needs to have strategic value rather than just logistics. Yeah. I see you. Any marketing tips for health tech startups targeting parents with toddler? Oh, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I would start with direct response. I think that it can be tempting to use YouTube, again, to use creator or advertising, YouTube advertising. But I would try to start with direct response campaigns. I think Meta has some really decent targeting for parents or new parents. I'd start with a really small niche audience and just try to find one in, right? What's the biggest pain point that your product solves? This your health tech startup. What do you solve for them? Find the biggest pain point and craft a marketing campaign around that, right? In the end, it's like you get an exposure of half a second while they see your ad on whatever you're placing it. So if you're targeting the right people and you're speaking to that pain point that they have, that tends to be the higher converting idea. I know this is very generic advice, but just want to start with the basics. Okay. Gops. Sorry I joined late, but I don't see the loss in posting status updates about your startup and building community around your startup. What's the loss? I don't know if there's. I don't know if I say loss. It's mostly it just takes too long, right? It was kind of the point. Barry, most of what you said applies to B2B. Have you made special efforts to let enterprises know that you're giving advice? I mean, my experience, and that's I guess a good disclaimer. Like my experience advertising is a little bit of it's kind of a mix of B2B and B2C, right? Because who's buying our product? Who buys our product? It's early stage startups to companies with 20, 30, 40 employees, right? And this works for us. So it's B2B, right? These are businesses. And even the early stage founders are starting a business, right? So are they customers or are they businesses? They're kind of in the middle. We understand that that's where we operate. I think that it applies to both, honestly. With B2B, the difference, I mean, as you go up the ladder, or enterprise is maybe a field I've never done enterprise ads, but and most of that doesn't work with marketing. It works mostly with with sales or business development. But I mean, my experience with B2B, right? It's about finding the right key decision maker in the company. And it speaks more again of our audience, right? I went to this conference the other day on RevOps. I don't know if you've ever heard of RevOps. It's like a friend of mine runs this company called Go Nimble. They sell like RevOps consulting to enterprise. And it's a whole other world. Like I went to this conference thinking it was something. I mean, it's startup related, I guess. It's tech startup related. I didn't understand half of what people were saying. Tools I've never heard of. They have this platform called Clay, which apparently is the gist. I've never heard of it in my life. Right? It's a whole other world, right? And the decision makers or the people that you advertise, if you were kind of selling that, is so different from my audience, right? So like understanding those key decision makers in the company, I think is crucial, especially before you try to run these broad, wide net campaigns like YouTube. Um, Barry, so to large, medium, and small, large companies. I don't think my audience thinks to come to YouTube to learn to solve their problems. And that's a good question, right? Because um, I think that the again, Barry, like it's about understanding who in the company is the buyer, right? And that what are the habits of that buyer, right? I think that what we first understood with pitch decks and with startups was that people were searching for pitch deck and they were searching for guides on how to make a pitch deck on Google, and they might also search for that on YouTube. And that's the first breakthrough that we ever had on YouTube, right? Like we started targeting those keywords that used to work well on Google search. Um, and then once we had some legs with that, and once we understood a little bit of the YouTube algorithm and the system, we started thinking, okay, like would a startup founder watch a video about WeWork going out of business? Uh, Probably. I mean, a lot of people who are not startup founders would watch that video as well, but I think they'd watch that video, sure. And so let's make it and see what happens, right? So that's kind of how we thought about the channel originally. It came to a point for us on YouTube where we just started, where the channel grew to a certain point where we care more about the really broad brand awareness than about the conversions. Again, YouTube, at least this channel that you're on, is very much a brand awareness channel for us. Startup Club is much more a direct response campaign. Uh, we try to track conversion on that channel much more diligently. But here, like this mix of people, I don't know. Timothy runs a YouTube channel. He probably doesn't need Slidebean at all, right? And he's still in our audience, and we can extract value out of Tim if he watches an ad or pays for YouTube Premium, right? So like we kind of understood the new role that this channel plays and the new audience, while we still kept kind of like the tech vertical. That even though it's not startups, right? It's sort of tangential to startups, and that's what we do. Timothy, how am I, and how do you handle work-life balance? Good question, man. Thanks for asking. Um, it's a lot of work, YouTube, and you kind of you sometimes feel a little tempted um to work more than you should, especially when there's like we did this video the other day, which was very much an exception for us on this company called Builder AI that ran out of business. So we got the news and the story, like we're the perfect channel to make a deep dive into why this company went out of business, and we have a lead on the story. I mean, the story was public already, but if we move fast, we can be the first channel to publish about it. So are we willing to sacrifice a weekend? Like I don't like my team working on the weekends. I don't we try to avoid it like the plague. And it generally doesn't happen. That was kind of an exception. It's like, okay, like, we did overtime and like exchange vacation days or whatever. But the idea is like, can we make exceptions like this to work? But always respecting, hey, like I think that with work like YouTube, you need a lot of creative time. And at least for me, I kind of fall into this fallacy, which is like I can work harder today and pull an all-nighter and to get this thing done, and it'll be done, right? But the price I have to pay if I do that is I will be tired the next day and therefore less creative, right? And that's not necessarily something you notice right away. It's like it's like, oh, like I'm less creative, whatever. I'll just like keep problem solving like we started founders tend to do. But like it when I kind of stop for myself, I, when I stop myself and take a breath and take a weekend, and then I come back on Monday and like I have all these new ideas that I could not have come up with if I was just full on like pulling all-nighters, right? So I try to respect work life as much as I can. I'd be lying if I tell you that my work days are 8 hours. They're probably like 10 hours, but um but they do but I do respect the weekends like religiously, so I don't do any work on the weekends. um Feedback on AI marketing, not workflow. Have you used it? Man, I think that AI for marketing is gotten really good at a few things, especially SDRs, cold outreach. I think that if you're doing cold outreach manually or with like templates, you're one step behind, right? Like there are solid tools, or you can build your own assistants to do outreach with AI. I don't, I think that some people are really reluctant to AI generated content overall. I mean, like obviously AI generated content, right? But like it's about, to me, the biggest power is like making a human 3 or 4 times more efficient thanks to these AI based tools. I think that that's the name of the game, um, which is a double-edged sword. We made a video about it last week, but yeah. Sorry, Fuzik, if I pay the 99 a month for the fundraising guidance on Slidebean, how many times it takes to can present my pitch deck to you? It's included in the service, it says. Yeah, yeah. So with our accelerate plan, you get one call a month with our pitch deck team and one call a month with our financials team. So two 30-minute sessions every month. And normally companies stay for 2, 3, 4 months, going over a few rounds of revisions on the pitch deck during those 30-minute calls. So again, one on the pitch deck, one on the financials. Everybody gets a kickoff call with me. It's a small group, so we can talk a little bit strategically about what I kind of recommend doing and so on. And then after you've gone through the whole process, you get another kind of one-on-one session with me where we can strategize a bit more about about the growth or about how to approach investors and so on. Mohammed, should startups from third world countries follow the same playbook as startups in Silicon Valley? That's actually a very good question. Um, I think the biggest difference between developing world, third world, I can say that I'm Costa Rican. I can say that it's not a racist. The biggest difference is the US has this acceptance of failure that I haven't seen anywhere else in the world. Right? So in the US, if you run a company and it fails, um, it's fine. Like you learned a lot. Investors will write off their losses. They understood that that's a possibility with startups, and they might give you money again for your next company, the same investors. And that to me is super crazy, right? Like if you if this company went out of business, why would they give you money again? Um, so much so that I've seen, founders close their business because even though it hasn't gone out of business, right? It hasn't gone to the extreme. It's not going anywhere. So let's just close it down, do something else, right? So that risk aversion, or that not that lack of fear of failure in the US, I think is, what makes it such a, such a pool of startups, honestly. And you don't see that in the rest of the world, right? In Latin America, I'm Costa Rican. If I run my company to the ground, I fear people will talk about it. And I mean, investors will, it's like, oh, this guy, like, fuck this company. So, like, we shouldn't give him money again, right? Like, I feel like there's that risk. Like, how much people appreciate failure is very different in at least in these two cultures that I've been exposed to. Um, yeah, I think that the other big difference depending on where you live is like just the work standards in the US are very different, right? It's a 60-hour work week is normal in the States. Uh, I mean, for the founders, that's normal. I'd say a founder needs to work 60 hours a week. That's just what it is. There's no there's no around that. But at least especially at the beginning, right? But for employees, right, for the rest of your team, early employees, depending on the country, work-life balance works very differently. In the US, again, 10-hour shifts are normal, almost standard, I would say, depending. Uh, Rest of the world, there's a lot more respect for work-life balance, which, might put you there's a point in the company where the people that you hire are no longer co-founders or co-founder level people. They're just employees and this is their job. And you have to understand that. You have to respect that it's a job and not a life, right? For you as a founder, your company is half of your life, basically. But for others, it isn't. And then those rules are much more blurry in the States. But outside the US, maybe Europe, I mean, especially Europe, uh, you life comes before work, obviously, like no questions about that. So you have to kind of balance that as you approach time or hires and whatnot. Okay, last couple questions. Last question, let's say. Okay, so I don't understand your answer. Sorry. If I paid today, when will be the 30-minute meeting, please? 1 week, 1 day. Of course, I can tell arrange a date. I mean, normally you can, as soon as you book your accelerator plan, you can right away book time with my team to go over your pitch deck, your financials. Um, right away, you can book a meeting with me, like this kickoff meeting, which is a group meeting, just to kind of get ourselves on the same page. And after you've gone through the process and our team approves, we do another one-on-one call just as we send you off for fundraising. It's kind of like let's call it graduation call, if you will. Yeah, sorry, physique. Okay, 9 out of 10 startups fail. Should a person work on 2 or 3 ideas to see what works? No, don't do that. That's a good question, Mustafa. I would never do that. Don't do 2 startups at the same time. Uh, Pick the idea that works and just do that. Nobody has time to do 2 things that well, very well, like except maybe Jack Dorsey. But everybody else, like just pick one thing. Future of Slidebean, yeah, like we kind of operate as same as we operate in the middle of the startups, sorry, of getting paid to advertise on YouTube and paying to advertise on YouTube. We kind of operate in the world where we started Slidebean as a venture-backed company. We raised some money from investors. I understand how that works. I'm not bullshitting people on understanding it, but but we're no longer a venture-backable company, right? We've been operating profitably for many years. We're not growing at startup rates. We're continuing to evolve the product. YouTube and our media presence is still stronger. Like it looks like we do that decently well, and it's been paying off. It's been growing. It's smaller, but it's been growing. Yeah, so I think we'll continue to do both of these things. It's no secret that we founders start companies to sell them, so that's never off the table. But I can't say more. All right. Okay. Now the last one. There you go. There you go. Maybe. Me and some friends were thinking about starting a YouTube channel focused on the European startup ecosystem. What are ways to monetize, seeing that YouTube ads are not enough? Rewind a little bit. I think that those are the ones I talked about. Brand deals, Patreon. I think that's pretty much it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Great questions. Thanks for making this a fun session. Please tune in for the session on Thursday. We're going to talk about financial models, a much more startup focused session on how to prepare for fundraising, how to get to the next round of funding, actually some hands-on work. And like I said, we'll be building a financial model for 1 or 2 of the companies that tune in. So if you want to join on the Zoom link, so we can talk and we can bring you up to the stage, that's even better. Hope to see you all there.